All right. Sounds good. Can you see me, Miguel?
I can, yes.
Okay, there you are. Good, cool. So yeah, I'm just new to this. It's a program we're doing to look into possibly setting up more intentional communities, and we just kind of wanted to,
Who's we?
yeah, the LightRoot Collective. It's a nonprofit organization in Waukesha. So and and personally for me, I'm interested in intentional communities and living in communities. So I'm curious to come and maybe visit sometime and check more into it. It's something I've been thinking about. So, how long have you been part of the of Dreamtime Village or in other intentional communities?
Well, we started this in 1990.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. So it's been around a little while.
Yeah. Well,
Yep. And it's not too far from where I live. I live in Sparta, Wisconsin. So I think it's about what, an hour and 20, maybe a little over an hour.
hour, more than an hour. Yeah,
A
hour.
good a,
20. Yeah.
a good hour. Yep. I really love living in the Driftless region. I grew up on a farm in southern Wisconsin. But so I've always lived in Wisconsin. But I love living to trucking brought me to Sparta. I work for a trucking company right now, so a lot of hours in the truck, a lot of time to think about what different things I might want to do with my life. So, um, but uh, but yeah, it's the Driftless area is so beautiful. Where did you grow up?
I'm from Rapids originally, but I lived in Madison for uh,
Okay.
12 years, and then I've been out here for 35, 36 years.
Wow, that's great. Okay. Have you raised a family then out here in Village too?
Yeah, yeah. My first wife and I are the people that started it, and
Oh, wow.
we have we uh we had a son who was raised here.
Okay.
A long time ago. And
Yeah.
my first wife died in 2004.
No,
So
I think she must be the one I see on the website then.
yeah, yeah, that web page hasn't been changed for probably 20 years.
Oh, okay.
It's very obsolete.
Ah, that's okay. Yep. I was clicking on different spots and it looks like I thought it was just one building, but you have multiple buildings that people live in then?
Yeah, I mean, in the 90s we had six different houses, but three of them
Oh,
have been destroyed by fires over the last 30 years. So we have
oh, okay.
the house that I'm in, and then we have a house we call the hotel house, which there's probably a picture of it on the website. And that's where most of the people right, there's three people living there right now. And then we have one person living on another property that's about 8 miles from West Lima, and
Mm-hmm.
they're living in a one-room school that's from
Oh,
1860, and
wow.
they're living with no electricity, no water, no nothing, and totally raw. But they've lived, before they've been there for probably since like 19 or since 2000 or so.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And but they really like being there. And the person is sort of a wildlife ecologist, so he does really well with he he lives on it's a 40-acre property, and he took the whole bottom of the valley, which was just like totally overrun with invasives, and he's totally
Oh, wow.
converted the whole thing to wildflowers and stuff.
Oh, wow. Wonderful.
There's like a creek going through it. It's pretty amazing what he's done. But he's
Mm,
also sort of a loner and stuff, so he's like the perfect fit for being at that property and taking care of it.
yeah, perfect. Okay.
And we
I
have a
think,
couple other properties, and then I also have a permaculture vineyard, which is another property, but
oh,
that's
wonderful.
not part of Dreamtime. It's my own project.
Okay. Very cool. So there's lots of activities and areas that people can help out in then.
Well, yeah, on and off. What one of the things that happened is originally we had 28,000 square foot school as part of
Okay.
our project.
Mm,
And so when that was still in use, we had a lot more things going on here. And
okay.
my first wife was alive, and she's sort of a teacher, so we ran the
Mm,
we ran an alternative sort of school in the weekends in the summer and stuff.
wow.
All different kinds of classes and improvisation, arts, and permaculture, yoga, just
Okay.
lots of different classes and stuff. But the school, unfortunately, it's an amazing building, but unfortunately, it had 11 types of asbestos in it. And
Oh,
so eventually, because we weren't heating, it's an old brick building,
Yep.
1,000 square feet, we weren't heating it. So eventually, the asbestos became more friable, and we were a
Shucks.
lot of classes with kids and stuff, and so we couldn't bring them. We could no longer have classes there, couldn't bring the situation, and then
Hmm.
we ourselves stopped using the school about 2004 or so, 2005. So the school is sort of has been completely abandoned, except for the gymnasium.
Yeah.
And then
Um,
it changed my Licks died in 2004 and the school stopped being used 2004, 2005. So it really changed the whole complexion of our community. We went from kind of being just I don't know, a much more active sort of educational and uh,
okay.
event-oriented sort of thing to being much more like a co-housing kind of setup where
Sure.
we have some spaces and people stay here and there's lots and lots of there's lots of land and things to do, but because we don't have the giant school to do a lot of stuff, we're a
Yep.
lot more limited by the kinds of stuff that we can do and
Yeah.
how many
So
people.
how many people are actually living in with Dreamtime Village right now then?
Six.
Okay. Yep. And you guys are permaculture based, or that's
Yeah,
one of your
yeah,
philosophies?
yeah. Well, we have always described ourselves as permaculture hypermedia.
Okay.
Hypermedia was the word that was used in the 80s and 90s for doing stuff related to computers and that kind of thing.
Okay. Gotcha.
So we've always been, we've never been sort of anti-tech or anything.
Mm-hmm. Um,
And we also, Lix and I also, or well, she's passed, but I run a press that publishes poetry books and art books and things like that. So that's
oh, wonderful.
another part of what we do.
Okay, great. Would you say you have a mission or a purpose then? What would be your mission, would you say?
Uh, and we're just described as an umbrella arts and
Okay.
permaculture organization.
Yep. Yep. And how do you see your role fitting into the organization or to the village?
I'm sort of the main person, but I also in 2010 I bought this vineyard and started working on planting that and stuff. But since then,
Mm-hmm.
I've been switching more of my energy to that. So while I'm still sort of the main person here, I do a lot less in terms of organizing things and getting things going
Sure.
here because I have this whole other project going.
Sure. Sure.
And three or let's see, two of the people have been here, or two of the people have been here for a really, really long time, and
Okay.
actually three of the people have been here for a really long time, and then the other two are more recent, like in the last few years. So the community aspect runs pretty automatically. Like
Mm-hmm.
when we get new people in, we tend to have meetings and stuff. But right now, since everybody's known each other, we don't
Sure.
meetings
Ah,
just because we're sort of on autopilot all the time.
yeah.
And it's we're in a little town of West Lima. There's no it's difficult for people to make a living out here. So
Yeah.
everybody here and everybody here is sort of subsistence style lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
We've had in the past we've had a couple businesses related to our organization, but that was a long, long time ago, and it was always problematic because it was a one person running the business and employing people who were also paying the rent and bills. And if the person
Oh,
wasn't keeping up with paying his employees and stuff, then all of a sudden there wasn't money for rent. And so then you couldn't pay the
ooh.
bills. And, it just gets really complicated. And
Yep.
and we've always operated as an anarchist organization. So we don't do a lot of just like everybody trying to do something together. Everybody's kind of has their own private lives, and we just find ways for it to fit together.
Okay. Yep. Yep. And then, so would you say in general, does anybody else have particular roles in the community or?
Well, yeah, we have one of the pe people that has been here for the longest is Mr. Fix It sort of thing. So he's the
Yep.
person who, when something breaks, we sort of
Mm-hmm.
depend on him to figure out at least what needs to be done and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Other person is sort of a carpenter and stuff like that. Uh,
Okay.
one of our people is a writer and a poet, and so she's been much more involved in just sort of keeping things more, I don't know, more organized and more sort of
Okay.
and stuff.
Yep.
One of the things that happens sometimes is it's a very isolating place because we're like 7 miles from a town of 500, and
Yep.
we're 2 hours from Madison, hour and a half from La Crosse.
Yep.
And so sometimes it gets to be, if we only have a couple of older guys living here and stuff like that, it starts to turn into a bachelor pad, and then it becomes difficult to attract more people to it because of all the things that sort of come with being a bachelor pad. So
Yeah.
it's always
Yep.
been nice, but a challenge to have women living here because it makes it just a lot more
Yep.
and acceptable and that kind of thing.
Do you guys help take care of each other by cooking food together, or is everybody pretty much
Sometimes,
on?
but not recently, no. In the
Okay.
past, we used to do that a lot.
Yep. I
In the
got you.
in the 90s, when we had use of the school, we had probably up to 25 people living here,
Oh,
during
wow.
the summer. It was way different complexion than people
Hmm.
living in teepees and tree houses and parts of
Sure.
vehicles and all kinds of stuff. They just would set up all over. And then
Wow.
we had a full-size gymnasium. We had raves here and concerts and lots of different kinds of stuff.
Oh,
Uh,
wow. Cool.
but everything just sort of wound to an end kind of when Licks died and when the school stopped being used, and it really changed a lot. In some ways, part of me misses that, but part of me, it was an incredible demanding.
Yeah.
Or like as the sort of director and organizer, it was incredibly demanding on Licks and myself for just like taking care of everything.
Sure.
For
Yep.
example, we had the first permaculture design course in Wisconsin here in uh,
Mm.
1992. And
Okay.
back then, they were 17 days long, 14 to 16 hours a day of classes.
Woo.
And we had like, I don't know, 45 people here for that for
Wow.
the 17 days, plus there's time before and after.
Hmm.
And it was an incredible experience, but it also burned us out for most of the rest of the summer and stuff. Just
Oh, right.
all the energy that it took to make that happen.
Yep. What would you say was the initial draw to start up the community then? Ah, oh
uh,
boy. There's a story. I can hear a story.
yes, the story of Dreamtime is a Hollywood movie essentially. There's a person who is before Dreamtime started. There was a person who he had befriended a rich woman in Chicago who had made a lot of money in trailer parks in Chicago, and she had always felt really guilty about the money that she had made. So this
Mm.
man had convinced her to give him her checkbook, and he went crazy. He bought 45 properties in southwestern Wisconsin under the pretext of creating this extended sort of eco-village network of all these different places. He
Oh boy.
bought like he bought like six old schools, a pre-Civil War hotel,
Wow.
all kinds of stuff. And then, he basically took her checkbook and he would turn it into cash, and he'd show up at these auctions with bags of cash, and
Wow.
he'd buy properties just with cash, at the thing. And so, and he had put out an ad in the Isthmus in Madison, that used to be the weekly paper in Madison.
Hmm.
And we answered the ad and met this guy, and he took an immediate liking to Licks because this man is Jewish, and Licks, my ex-wife or my first wife, was Jewish, and they just sort
Mm.
of really connected in lots of ways. And within like a week of meeting him, he basically donated about 6 or 8 different properties we had a nonprofit for our arts organization, to
Wow.
6 or 8 properties to our nonprofit, including this 28,000 square foot school in West Lima.
Wow.
So, and then he also donated another school to us in Linden, Wisconsin. And so we first started out in Linden and started setting up there. And because we were artists, we had finished a big art exhibition in Minneapolis and had made some giant sculptures. And we pulled into Linden and we set up our giant sculptures in the outside yard in this super conservative town of Linden. And we were living in Madison at the time and going to that thing. And so we were doing this project. We started there for, oh, I don't know, 2 or 3 months. And then go back one time to work on it. And the city people had taken all of our sculptures and dragged them to the dump and thrown
Oh,
them. And like almost like, pitchfork and It really just like drove us out of that place. And so Stephen gave us the West Limas properties instead. And so then we started and well, we signed the deal in 90, December
Mm.
90, and March of 91, we started moving stuff from Madison. We had a place in Madison called the Church of Anarchy on Willie Street. So we had a really,
Oh.
really sort of crazy, crazy artist space. And so we started moving our stuff in March of 91 out to the school.
Mhm.
And there was a whole bunch of other properties in town. And basically, he turned over a whole bunch of the titles to these properties to our nonprofit. So we went from, at that point, the only thing that Lix and I owned personally was a van. And other than that, we
Mm.
had like no possessions. And we went from that to having, I don't know, $500,000 worth of properties donated to our nonprofit.
Oh, that's crazy. Wow.
3 years with no plans whatsoever. And
Uh-huh.
we started going out to the school and hanging out there on 3 4 days and then going back to town and then just trying to do a vision of what we wanted to do and went through a lot of things. I mean, originally all we were really looking for when we started looking for a place is we wanted sort of the traditional artist sort of thing. We were looking for a farm in a hollow with a barn that
Mm-hmm.
could turn into a studio and do that kind of thing.
Sure.
That never happened. And so next thing we knew, we had, basically we got donated about a quarter of West Lima.
Wow. Right?
Yeah.
That's great.
And then we did a lot of visioning and came up with the concept of Dreamtime Village. And
Hmm.
it's based on the idea of the Aborigine Dreamtime. Do you know anything about that?
Don't. You can tell me a little bit about it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the oldest continuous culture on the planet is the Aborigines of Australia. Their culture has continuously been going since uh,
Oh,
75,000 years.
wow.
And it has its own philosophy. There's hundreds of languages integrated into the Aborigine thing. And then the Aborigines have the idea called the dream time. And in
Mm.
dream time, real or waking is the sleeping, and the sleeping is the waking. They take the dominant paradigm of our existence and they switch it around. I mean, this is the way they live and think, and they have done this for since time
Wow.
immemorial. Um, and then one of the other things that really interests about the concept of the dream time was that in their language, they don't have words in their language that separate, like, I'm going to do a painting, I'm going to go eat, I'm going to go these things. It's all totally integrated. If they're going hunting, they're going to paint their face, they're going to do a little dance
Uh,
like they didgeridoo. They go out and around a walkabout, and it's all integrated. There isn't separate sort of pigeonholes and stuff. And
sure.
we were really, really interested in that sort of concept of just everything being integrated in that sort of way. And especially in the
Mm.
first few years, we had the use of the school and we were getting people, we sort of became on the anarchist circuit and we had people coming from all over just to see what we were doing and to spend time with us. I mean, it
Hmm.
was unusual to be sleeping at 3 o'clock in the morning. There'd be a whole school bus full of anarchists from the Lower East Side of New York, just like showing up on our doorstep to come hang.
Wow.
A lot of people would, this is really before the internet was the internet. So a lot of
Mhm.
people just didn't know how to get a hold of us. They would just show up at our door and stuff like that. And then
Wow.
also because we were involved with a very famous anarchist writer named Hakeem Bey, who said in his books, he said he lived, I mean, we were involved with him a lot, but he never actually lived here. He spent time here. But in his books, he said he lived here. So a lot of times we get people
Mm.
that wanted to find him, and they
Oh,
would
geez.
show up here in West Lima looking for this guy, Hakeem Bey,
Wow.
and just, endless, endless stuff.
Wow.
Anyway, to circle back to the story, this guy gave us these properties. Um, Next thing, after the titles were already given to us, um, the children of the woman who gave him a checkbook, but by this time he had spent $3 million of her money. The children had found out that their mother was involved with this guy Stephen, and
Whoa.
one of their children was a psychology professor at Wayne State University, and he got his mother declared unstable or unfit and took
Oh,
over
no.
her money and accounts and stuff like that. and
Oh,
and then went after Stephen to try to get the properties back. And
wow.
and so, he had like 40 other properties other than the ones that he gave us. And actually some of the properties that he gave us, he had actually bought before he had met this woman. So those were not ever in jeopardy or anything. But the two houses that we live in, were both part of the things that were bought with the woman's money. So
Hmm.
we had to go through a thing where there was a lien put on the properties and we had to pay off. But it was really gratuitous.
Oh,
The house that I'm in, which is huge, it's the old post office. Um, it's like 50 by 35, 2 floors, old school. We paid like $9,000 on a lien for the whole house. The other
mm,
house paid like 25,000. That was the house that the teachers that taught in the school originally lived in.
hmm.
Has like 9 little rooms, which is why
Yep.
we call it the hotel because it's kind of the guest house and stuff.
Okay. Okay.
And we actually pretty quickly paid off the liens, and got out of any sort of legal trouble. We got to
Good.
While we were involved with this guy, he also was sort of a psychomaniac. So we year by year we just distanced ourselves more and more from him until we actually
Okay.
there were some things happen where we had to actually have a restraining order from to keep him from being here.
Oh, wow.
Um, so while we got the stuff for free, we paid for it in a different way,
Yep.
sort
Yep.
of psychological, weird, tormented way.
Sure.
I could say
Uh,
the whole thing was a Hollywood movie.
I guess it sounds like it. So, wow. Um, we could move on to the other questions here I've got in the outline. So conflict communication. Have you had any challenges or examples of challenges over the years?
Oh yeah, always there's endless challenges.
Yeah.
Um, you know, when there was a lot of people here, we would have weekly meetings. We would do consensus minus one. But because we're on an anarchist circuit, we would have a lot of younger folks here. We also had interns. Every year we had 2 or 3 interns. One would
Okay.
be a agriculture intern, one would be a hypermedia intern who'd help
Sure.
publishing and stuff, and then sometimes another intern who would kind of mix and do both. Um,
Okay.
so we would get a lot of folks coming through here that were, instead of going to college, they were looking for other sorts of opportunities.
Yep.
And a lot of them were very anarchist, very issue oriented.
Mm,
I would even say like militant vegans and things like that.
yep.
And so always these younger folks would come here with their issues and stuff, and constantly we would have a thing where there'd be, we had chickens and goats and ducks, geese, etc. And so we would have, this is just an example, we would have, a whole meeting that would just get, uh, what's the thing when they do that in Congress? Blanket out on the word, where they just keep talking to, what,
Okay. Yep.
you know what I mean? So
I
they,
think so. Yeah.
for some reason, the word's not coming to me. It'll come to me in a minute.
Yep.
And then we would get lost in these very issue-oriented things when there was like lots and lots of different stuff to deal with.
Exactly.
Um, and we always tried to do it with consensus minus one, and sometimes it was just impossible because um, the issues would be too in the forefront.
Sure. Sure.
Um,
Um,
and then we've had several people who have lived here who have died, all different kinds of things. I mean, we've been here for 35 years, so
yep.
pretty much all the elements of life have appeared here in different ways.
Yep.
And now we have the thing where our one of our main guys, he's been here. He was actually the caretaker of the school before we got here, and he just stayed here with us, and he's always been a part of it. He's the Mr. Fix-It, but
Okay.
he had some issues with diabetes, and so he's had his foot amputated. So, and
Oh, shucks.
he's older, so we're having the thing now where folks are getting older. We don't have, you know, we're all living subsistence lifestyles. We don't have ways to deal with the fact of the people
Yep.
not being able to do the things and stuff. That we don't have
Right.
sort of health care here or anything like that. I mean,
Yeah.
it exists in the county and stuff, but not in our community.
Hmm.
And then plus there's just everybody's really like uh kind of just always doing stuff to make money. So a lot of times people are just off doing their things,
Yep.
and sometimes you don't see somebody for a week or two just because they're working. They're working and they come home and they sleep and that kind of thing.
Wow.
You know.
Yep. Okay. So conflict resolution system kind of.
Well, even now, if something comes up, we sort of circle around and we talk about it. Um,
Yep.
there hasn't there really hasn't been any serious sort of conflicts, in quite a long time, but it's because we've all been together for a long time.
Yeah.
Um,
And so as far as training, not
let me
necessary.
think one more thing. So there's
Yeah.
two other things that have always been an issue, have been issues in the community. One, and this is true for everything, it's not just for us.
Yep.
One is pets.
Ah,
Everybody moves here. A lot of people have a dog, they have a cat, they have a kangaroo,
sure.
whatever. And we have limited spaces. And as soon as you have more than one person with a pet, all of a sudden the logistics gets out of control. And a lot of people, a lot of really cool people that haven't been able to live here because we just haven't been able to like set up and have a lot of pets. The other
Gotcha.
the other thing is alcohol.
Mm,
People who have issues with drinking and stuff like that.
sure.
And that it disappears, but it comes back and it disappears and it comes back.
Uh,
And it can always be an issue with somebody who, especially in the winters here, it's very, in the winter, the roads are bad. It's very isolating. I mean, people have vehicles, but it's just the tendency is not to drive as little as possible because the roads are so fucking bad. And
yeah.
then the people that have issues with drinking and stuff like that, they tend to, start binging and drinking more. So,
Shucks.
a lot of times they'll come out of it, but if we're having to deal with stuff and somebody is in the middle of bitching and stuff, it's impossible.
Sure.
Usually don't do anything with somebody who's drinking too much.
Hmm. Okay. So training on conflict, not much going on there probably then, huh?
No, no,
Yep.
no.
And um, so effective tools or practices that you've had for conflict or in communication?
I just being able to communicate, I think. I don't know if there's any tools necessarily. Uh,
Hmm.
I think one thing that happens is somebody sort of will take charge to make, like for instance, if there's an issue with somebody, then somebody else will sort of partner with them and try to help
Yeah.
them resolve it in relationship to the community and stuff. Uh,
Okay, that's great.
and but it tends to happen in very sort of subliminal ways rather than, uh, it's like we don't like hash it out in a meeting or something like that. It
Yep.
just the meetings tend to be more just like getting things done, a list of getting things done, and that kind of stuff, and talking through, not
Okay.
dealing with sort of psychological issues and stuff.
Yeah. Um, let's see. I guess the next topic is the membership dynamics. So, um, some common reasons maybe people might leave the community or,
Um, Isolation, not being able to find a job,
yeah.
um, occasionally. I mean, when we had more housing choices, the housing thing wasn't an issue, but now there's really just one house that sort of is the place where people stay. So, it
Okay.
creates like a co-op house. And so people sometimes just, you know, you have your room and your common spaces, and sometimes people just feel too suffocated being in that situation
Sure.
for a while.
Sure.
One of the things that we've done a lot of is people come into the area will come and stay with us for 3 months or 6 months and use our
Oh,
space to kind of scout out a more hardcore, like maybe to buy a place or,
okay.
to land someplace that's more to their liking and stuff. And we've done a lot of that has happened. I'd say
Oh,
maybe
wonderful.
350 people have lived here over the last 35 years.
Cool. Yep. And who would you say who thrives and who stays then?
Well, obviously the people who are most flexible and tolerant are the ones who stay. Right.
Open-minded and flexible. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Yes. Um, and anybody who is racist or bigoted doesn't last more than a few days here.
Yeah, right. That's good. Well, you're all on the same page then. So, onboarding or integration process for people at all?
Um, it depends who it is.
Okay. Yep.
If it's somebody who just like, it's interesting. I get letters every day, a lot of people who want to move here, and a lot of times it's like a whole family, so we just don't have space for like a whole family to move here.
Right.
But we usually require that people visit first and they meet everybody here and everybody approves the person before, they could be here a visitor, but everybody approves the person before they're a resident.
Okay.
And after 35 years of this, I can usually tell within the first 3 seconds whether that person should be living here or not, no matter what they do or what they're saying or if they say anything at all. I just can read people in that way. Uh,
Good.
it almost always is correct. I mean, I can tell,
Good.
or like I'm giving a tour to somebody, and even in the tour itself, I can tell whether, well, this person will never,
Right.
stuff like that. It's
Okay.
it's a certain kind of energy here. It's really
Mm,
we're very much uh, a different space on the planet.
yeah.
And a lot of people are looking for utopia, and they're never going to find utopia, of course, but
Yep.
it separates them from what the possibilities are.
Sure. Sure. Any burnout? People get burnout or
Oh,
disillusion?
yeah, especially when there was the school going and
Uh-huh.
the people, there was a lot of burnout. One of the things I was going to say is licks, like in our original sort of setup in the first 12, 15 years, licks was the hostess with the mostest. She was the front person. She was the
Oh, wow.
that people would meet, and everybody instantly fell in love with her, and
Uh,
she made anyone moving here just immediately comfortable. And I'm more the logistics behind the scenes kind of person. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not a social butterfly in any way. But
Yep.
one of the things that happened is because Lix is just naturally that way, as time went on and before she died, it just started using her up more and more and more, and there was no one
Sure.
else that was doing it. And eventually, the last two ye- she the last 2 years of her life, she sort of pulled out of really like helping run stuff and stuff, and just started doing stuff for herself.
Yep.
Partly because she never got that piece going originally, where she was always
Hmm.
taking time for herself and stuff.
Yep. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. I'm sorry to hear that. It had to be hard. How old was she when she passed?
48.
Okay. Yep.
She got pancreatic cancer discovered, and she died within 6 weeks of finding out.
Oh my goodness. Oh wow.
Brutal.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, sure was. Um, let's see. How is burnout or tension addressed then, would you say? Anything or
It just deal with it by dealing
yep.
with it. I don't think there's no way to plan for it, and there's no way to anticipate it.
No, just kind of hits it probably hits pretty fast.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
because I've been doing this for so long, I just have my own natural. I tend not to. I mean, if I need space for myself, it's easy. I mean, normally I live with somebody else, but right now I'm living alone, so I just be in this house here.
Mm-hmm. We can move on to unless you have anything else on conflict, we can move on to the next area here is financial structure. Is there any kind of a financial structure you guys are?
Well, we operate as a nonprofit,
Yeah.
and for years and years and years, we were trying to be a community land trust. We actually went through all the process of joining the School of Living in Arlington, Virginia. Did immense amounts of studying and stuff like that. Community land trusts in Wisconsin are not a legal entity. It's basically a series of papers that are filed to sort of
Hmm.
approximate a community land trust. And we actually got to the point of joining the community land trust, but they wanted us to transfer titles to their main office in Arlington, Virginia. And at that point, the papers came in the mail, and we just decided not. No, we didn't want the titles to the property to be, on the East Coast. We want to held
Wow.
the titles ourselves. And so we canceled that. And so we sort of mentally think of ourselves still as a community land trust, but we never actually filed any papers or any sort of things that would, approximate that. The way that we work is that usually people are here for a month, living here for a month, and after that, if everyone accepts them as a resident,
Ah,
then they're a resident, and residents are owners. Any resident here is co-owner of all the things, of all the
okay.
license and stuff like.
Hmm.
Everybody pays the same amount per month, and that goes into, technically it's not a rent. It's just, a services fee, and that pays all the bill, electricity, taxes, etc.
Okay. Okay. Would you say you've had any big, what would be the biggest financial challenge you've had?
Well, we got donated old buildings, right? I mean, the house I live in is from 1880. The other house is from
Yeah.
1895. And so, I mean, they're old buildings. So it's
Yeah.
constantly, we can, if we had tens of thousands of dollars, we could pour tens of thousands of dollars into them to fix
Yep.
them up. We don't have that kind of income to work with. I
Right.
usually when we have an issue, I tend to do GoFundMe's and stuff. I have a Facebook page where I have, I don't know, 6 or 7 thousand followers, and so I can usually do a GoFundMe for a community.
Mm,
For instance, my furnace died here last year, and
mm.
on the GoFundMe, I raised 2,000 in about 3 days or 4 days.
Oh,
Just
wow.
people. I'm in the poetry world and stuff, so I have a ton of contacts and friends and stuff that are like professors and things. So
Wow.
it's a
Great.
big deal for a whole bunch of them to send $50 or something like that. And
Yeah.
nobody sends a whole. Well, a few people sometimes send a lot, but generally people are just sending a little bit. But that
Yep.
gets you over the hump when you need it.
It all adds up. Yep.
Yep.
So the response to the financial challenge would be,
I'm not sure what you're trying to keep.
yeah. If there was a financial challenge, how would you respond to it? I guess. Yeah.
Well, I just told you what I would do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be it.
Well,
Financial.
I mean, there's other kinds of things, but we've never had anything bigger than that.
Yep.
One of the
With
things
the like
I'm
with the
concerned
old
about,
buildings. Yep.
one of the things I'm concerned, well, speaking of financial challenges, is there's no central water in this town. Each house has a well.
Oh,
The
wow.
of these houses are 45 years old.
Oh, boy.
Getting a well is about 35 or $40,000. So
Jeepers. Yeah.
keep our fingers crossed because I'm not. I think at this point we could probably get a loan from the bank. I'm not really sure. I hope I don't have to
Wow.
find out.
Hmm.
Um, we have a really good relationship with our local bank. I mean, we've hit a bunch of times where we needed, for instance, the gymnasium we needed the roof was failing, so we wanted to put a metal roof on. And the bank, without hesitation, gave us the loan and gave us like
Wow.
3 or 4 years to pay it off, and that worked. So I
Yeah.
think it's just because everybody knows me in this area. It was just easy to do.
Good. Good. Let's see. Financial decision making process.
We just do it collectively.
Yep. Okay. Um, who has the input on the finances? Everybody, I suppose, or
Well, anytime
everybody's never.
there's we basically, since everybody is like coming and going, and it's hard for us to all be in the same place, we have a Facebook message group, and so anytime there's a financial thing, it goes there, and we just all talk about it.
Okay. Cool.
That way.
Um, yeah. So what strategies have worked? I guess that sounds like you guys have figured that out. So, yep.
Well, the main strategy that works is that we do without a lot of things that most people assume they need.
Yep.
And we also, we're all recyclers, reusers,
Okay.
constantly just finding things that are laying around not being used. And,
Great.
even like for housing, for fixing the house stuff, we can, just find out something is available and we'll go get it and use it on our own houses.
Okay. Great. Yeah. And are there anything strategies that haven't worked
Um,
necessarily?
Well, I think the main strategy that works is to make assumptions about people,
Yep.
assuming somebody is going to do what they say they're going to do,
Mm-hmm.
and just being a little bit more flexible and stuff.
Yep. Is there anything for income generating strategies that you've had?
No, like I said, we've had businesses in the past and those haven't worked out well. Right now, everyone
Yeah.
has their own ways of making money.
Okay. Um, Moving on. Government and agreements, anything there as far as kind of you're just not
Well,
really.
we operate by consensus. I mean, there's no other level of government involved in it.
No.
If
Okay.
there's a problem, somebody says something and then we figure it out.
Yeah. Um, yeah, there's not really a model or anything then that you go by.
No, just the idea of, I mean, just the idea of mutual aid and everyone working together. Um,
Okay.
nothing theoretical. Originally,
Hmm.
there was a lot more theoretical sort of basis to what we were doing, but I think that in general, that almost all has disappeared because we sort of live automatically together because we've been
Okay.
together so long. So a lot of the theoretical stuff has just sort of disappeared into the dust.
Yep. Have you had anything for zoning restrictions that you've encountered or
No,
not really? No.
we're really in the middle of nowhere here.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Maintaining trust and accountability. Is there any problem with maintaining trust between everybody or
Well, it goes back to the alcohol thing, but other than that, yeah.
ah, okay. Well, hopefully that's all cleared up then and pretty good at the moment. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I guess this is the last part is just reflections and advice. But are there any lessons from your early days that you would
Well,
say?
but when I do these kind of things a lot, and one of the things that I like to point out is there's two ways to form a community. One is you get a whole bunch of people together and you have meetings and meetings and meetings and meetings until you can kind of hash it out
Yep.
and everybody agree on something and then you try to figure out where to buy a place and how to build it and that kind of stuff. Uh, in general, most of those groups, I know one group that has been meeting for 9 years now and they still
Wow.
haven't gotten anything together. Uh,
Mm,
and then there is the thing like what happened with us. We got all these spaces given to us, and the community formed around the spaces. And in lots of ways, the actual buildings and the land and the space define what happened afterwards. And it's really,
okay.
and it's the outcome or the process and the outcomes are really different in terms of how it plays out and how it happens and stuff.
Yep.
Really
That,
two things. And, it's just a choice.
yep.
I mean, it's cool. It's I think in more like city-based sort of things, it makes a lot more sense than try to, form a coalition and groupthink and reach some sort of consensual vision of
Mhm.
what we're doing. Um, that kind of thing is in a rural area is just a lot more difficult because
Yep.
it just you really need to be on the site because that defines in a way, in ways that you can't put into words, it defines kind of what actions are needed, what people need to do to
Sure.
take care of the place, et cetera, et cetera. It's very action based, whereas, forming around an idea is a lot of talking and theorizing and
Sure.
not a
Sure.
lot of boots on the ground kind of stuff.
Yep. That seems like it was kind of a blessing that how it all came together with buying the
Well,
buildings.
I know that it would never have happened. For
Yep.
me, it never would have happened the other way. I'd
Yep.
never like said, well, I tell my friends, well, let's make a community. And
Just kind of fell in your lap.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
a world of anarchists. It's like I can get people to, being here to agree, well, yeah, we're going to pay the bills and that kind of stuff. But
Yep.
when you start getting into theoretical stuff, there is so much divergence and stuff in my world that it's difficult to have that pulled together.
Yep. Yep. Would you have any advice for new communities? Any top two or three things you'd say for advice if they're just starting up?
Uh, I mean, I'm a writer and poet, so communication is top priority and it's natural. It's not something I have to make an effort to do. I don't have to think
Mm,
about it. It's just natural. So I can't imagine a community working. without that being like
Yep.
really like in the totally in the forefront, no matter what style of community you have.
Just
And
like a marriage. Yep. Just like a
and
marriage. Or any two people trying to get along. Yep.
you have to well, and you have to be able to communicate on lots of different levels, and you have to be consistently able to do it. It can't be
Yep.
like you say some things and then walk away and hope that those things are going to, stick. It has
Mm-hmm.
sort of continuous dedication. Um, and I think, the other thing is, one of the best models I think, and it's one that I believe in most, is what happened with us is the one of the main reasons for our success is that we landed in one of the most neglected cracks in in the landscape. It was like
Yeah.
totally neglected. There was, this used to be, it's 6 blocks. The town is 6 blocks, but up until the energy crisis, it was a regular town. A lot of people never
Mm,
left here. There was, a store and a school and doctor and everything. And by the time we got here, there were, there's some other people living in the town, but there's nothing here. And it's really
mm,
a giant and in lots of parts in Wisconsin and in the Midwest, and there's these places that are just they're like a crack in the sidewalk where the weeds are growing. And
mm,
my analogy in a way is to find those cracks and inhabit the areas that are most neglected with that
mm-hmm.
are most competed or that are least competed for. Like if you're in a city and you're trying to set up on a piece of property where the real estate value goes up 15-20% every year, it becomes astronomically impossible to just deal with all the consequences of that. Whereas here, I mean, we were here, I mean, stuff was going up in general a little bit, but the
Mm-hmm.
6 or 8 years that I was here, I worked freelance and probably made less than $2,000 a year, and I thought I was living like a king.
Wow.
Really easy. This is early 90s. It was very, very easy just for people to come here and do stuff and operate and be engaged here without having to work 40 or 50 hours a week.
Wow. Right.
Uh, Now I work a hell of a lot more than that, but I mean, everything doubled in price about, during COVID and stuff like that. So it's just
Yep.
the times have changed. But if I was a lot younger, I still think I still think I could live fairly a lot cheaper than I do now. I just have other kinds of needs and stuff. And
Yep.
yeah.
Okay. Any community successes or proud things you're proud of that have happened?
Yeah, there's lots of stuff, little moments, nothing too big. I mean, um, one of the things that we did for the first 8 years is we had a thing called the Dreamtime Korobori. Korobori is an Aborigine word for any loud or noisy gathering, and that would be the first 3 weeks of August was like
Oh,
Dreamtime is going to be an all-out sort of festival, no holds barred. Come tell us what you want to do and do it. And so every August there would
mm,
be people pulling in from all over the United States and overseas and stuff, and people would come and paint murals, and there would be dances, there would be all different kinds of impromptu workshops, there would be herbs, yoga, there would be just all kinds of different kinds of things. And
sure.
uh, I mean, and there would be some larger group sorts of gatherings and stuff like that, but um, it was synergetic. It was very, very synergetic, and so it was something that really felt. I don't know. It just felt sort of magical and stuff. And
Nice.
uh, uh, the best example of that is that one time I heard a story. A friend of mine was in San Francisco and they were in a cafe and they were talking to their friend and they mentioned Dreamtime. And so somebody at the table next to them heard them say Dreamtime, and the person terms immediately said, "Yeah, I live at Dreamtime, or I lived at Dreamtime." And so they got into conversation, and my friend asked him, "Well, how long do you live at Dreamtime?" And the guy said, "Well, I was there for one day." And he was here for one day, and he was telling people he lived at Dreamtime because there was something about what was going on here that just really changed
Wow,
people and really made people feel like for a moment they belong.
that's cool. Right. Neat. Hmm. Is there anything you do differently if you had to
Uh,
do it over again?
that I do differently. No, not really. No,
Okay.
no, I pretty much, it's very interesting. When I was in high school, I finished my classes early, so my last semester I was able to do an independent project. So I was 17. I did a project on um, communes and intentional communities of the 18th century, like Oneida Community and
Oh.
Robert Owen and all these places. And basically, my last semester in high school, I wrote a book about uh, 18th century intentional communities and stuff like that. And
Mm.
that was at 17. And then fast forward to 33, and all of a sudden it's like I'm
Wow.
doing the thing that I actually did something, 16 years earlier.
Wow.
It's like, no, it was just like a non sequitur. There was nothing that led to it. It just all of a sudden I was there, but I had been
Wow.
already in my mind had been prepped. And it was always something that, utopian thought has always been something that I've been interested in, but it wasn't
Cool.
all during the 80s. um, we lived on Willie Street in Madison, and
Mm.
that was like one of the best communities I'd ever been in. It was a
Yeah,
unbelievable.
it's a neat area. I've been there.
Well,
Yeah.
in the 80s is way too, now it's condos and
Oh,
boutique.
okay. Yeah.
80s, every single house on Willie Street was a scene. Like our house was called the Church of Anarchy when we had a whole
Wow.
giant sculpture in our front yard called the Church of Anarchy. People
Oh
came from
boy.
all over the world to take their photos in front of it. And
Oh,
then we
cool.
had performances in our house and art shows in our house. A lot of the local kids and stuff would come and play in our music room just to have music to play. But
Yeah.
there were these kind of spaces all up and down the street, and everybody
Yeah.
knew everybody, and it was super convivial. Um, so it was in some ways it was even more community than we had when we moved to Dreamtime because we were in the middle of the city. And
Wow.
one of the interesting things to me is now a lot of these folks who were in Willie Street in the 80s, they're all old and they're all on Facebook. And so I'm writing to these people on Facebook that I knew 35, 40 years ago, and we're
Yeah.
instantly still that family that we were, in the 80s and stuff.
Very cool. So yeah, you've been around artists and been very creative your whole life, it sounds like. So been did your family, did your parents, how did you come into the artist world?
No, black sheep. My parents had no interest in it.
Okay. Oh, good for you. It seems it just listening to it, it feels like it's been the right path for you all along. So that's wonderful. Um, yeah, anything else differently? No, I guess probably not then. Oh, we asked that question. And then I guess finally, do you have any referrals? Do you know of anybody else that, or other communities in the area or any other friends to talk to that we might reach out to or?
I would check out Organic Compound. I think they're in Rushford, Minnesota.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's,
I don't know if they're necessarily a community, but they do a lot of permaculture related community building and stuff. They may be actual living community too. Um, then here in this area, there's also Dancing Waters, which
oh,
is
okay.
more that's actually been here longer than us. They're much more, they're about six houses on a larger piece of property. They're much more like almost like a co-housing kind of project.
Okay.
Although they're third generation now, so they've got
Is that
people.
more towards Viroqua or?
It's near Gays Mills.
Okay. Yep.
Uh, there's also Daniel. What's Daniel's place? I think Daniel. Oh, I'm not remembering it. His place is called The Landing. That's about 6 or 8 people. That's over by Viroqua.
Okay.
That's a new one. That's only been around for 4 or 5 years. Um, Trying to think any other. Dina Eccles' place outside of Ontario. She's they have a farm and they do a lot of products. I don't know how many people actually live there, and they're sort of truth and justice related stuff.
Okay.
think it's called Echo Farm. Her name is Dina, Dena, Eccles, Eckels, I think.
Was that Dina or Gina, did you say?
Dina with a D, dog.
Oh,
Dina,
Dina Eccles. Echels. Yep. Okay.
EC, no, I think it's Eckels.
ECK. And that's near Ontario, you said, right?
I think it's between Ontario and Hillsborough.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for your time. It's been great getting to know you a little bit, and yeah, I might stop over this summer or spring and maybe visit with you more personally. But
Sure.
um, yeah, we appreciate it. Like I say, I'm just doing this as a volunteer, and it's good for me to, if I'm thinking about intentional living, to do this to get to know if it's for me or not. I think so.
Okay, I'll send you a couple links to the New York Times came here and did a thing about us. I'll send you that.
Oh,
And then the
okay,
Christmas also did a thing about us. I'll send you that.
sure. Do you have my email address?
Didn't you email me originally?
I think I did. Yep. That's right. You got
Let
it.
let me,
Okay.
I thought you emailed me originally.
Yes, yeah, you're right. Yep.
Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, that
You
would be great.
sent it to people. Bradley, right? Yeah.
Yes, sir. There you go.
Yeah, I got it here. I'll send you the links and stuff. And then are you interested in permaculture links that related to us as well?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. YouTube talks and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Okay.
Wonderful.
I'll just send a whole list of links and you can dig through them.
Okay. I appreciate your time.
You take care.
Yep. Blessings. Bye now.
Bye.